I think that's where a lot of people or companies, when they expand, they get it wrong. Like you said about McDonald's. Dun, 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 dun. These guys, they adjust all over the world. Like in France, there's a Royale with cheese. They don't have a Big Mac, right? And here in the Philippines, I'm currently in the Philippines, there's McChicken. And it's just fried chicken. But they adapt because their biggest competitor is Jollibee. And, so they just get it right and they're willing to adjust. Whereas a lot of other franchises, you can't change anything.
So I'm an investor as well in a wind turbine company. And the Philippines will actually be one of our biggest clients. They are installing about 30 megawatts of solar panels. Just so you know, 1 megawatt can power 1 million regional homes in the Philippines, because the Philippines is an island and islands are always windy. Yeah.
It's actually a bargain and it's going to pay for itself.
But the Philippines has one of the most expensive electricity bills in the world. The locals don't feel it because it's subsidized by the government. In the US, you pay about 23 cents per kilowatt. In the Philippines, about 41 cents.
And it's not subsidized. It's stolen.
So when your electricity bill halves in the next 5 years, you know that I helped you out there.
Well, I'll buy you a gift.
And now the man you've been waiting for, John, the sales machine, Rankins!
Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest, Maxwell Nee, is the Chief Revenue Officer at ScoreApp, a quiz marketing platform serving over 6,500 paying clients. A multi-award-winning entrepreneur, bodybuilder, and dancer, he's been featured on TV, radio, in Forbes, and across top publications like Singapore's The Business Times, the Australian Business Review. Maxwell specializes in go-to-market strategies for game-changing companies throughout Asia Pacific and Australia, and scales them with real impact. He's also the international best-selling author of Scorecard Marketing. And if you want to take your business to the next level, this is a guy that not only teaches it, but has done it. In less than 18 months, he achieved over $1 million ARR with his own company. And now he's helping other companies do it. And currently, he's got over 6,500 paid users to his Score app. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the show, Maxwell Nee.
Wow. Thank you, John. I'm pumped up after hearing all that.
Well, that's all about you, Congratulations on your success, Maxwell. How did you actually get involved with the software community and come up with your idea to help others?
Yeah, good question. So I actually didn't found this business, but I am an angel investor. So I've been in since the beginning. And, my previous business is what landed me all those Forbes and everything else. That was a business coaching business. We were selling courses and programs for $1,000, $5,000, and $10,000. And we hit about $250K a month in less than 2 years. And one of the main tools that we used to generate that many leads to get that done was scorecard marketing. Back then, we Frankensteined our own version of it that, plugged in a Google form plus a Google sheet plus some calculations and spits out an email. And then my good friend, Daniel Priestley, so Daniel's actually the author of this book, he sent me an email saying, "Hey, I've just made this software. Would you like to help us to grow it?" I said, "Yes, of course." We just spent 10 weeks and, $5,000 Frankensteining our own version. And now you can get your own scorecard for $29 a month.
Really?
Yeah.
$29. And what's the psychology and methodology behind the scorecard that makes it so effective?
Yeah, good question. So there's also a free version, right? So free 29 plus. And so if you think about, a lot of people would have done a few of these before. The one that most people would have done is the body type quiz. So you might see an advertisement from like a personal trainer saying, find out which body type you are, small, medium, or large, according to your frame. And based on your body type and frame and muscle build, I will I'll recommend you a personalized program to help you hit your summer goals specific to your genetics. And that is exactly what scorecard marketing is. It's something that you answer a bunch of questions, and then it spits out a personalized two-way piece of value that you can use immediately. And the business owner on the other side gets your information. They get an expression of interest from you. They get your contact details, and also they get all this data on you, on who you are, what you like, and how to speak to you effectively. They get a needs analysis. So if you think about the first 5-10 minutes of a sales conversation, it's all needs analysis, right? So the scorecard marketing does that to help you generate more data and close more sales.
And in the Score app, it automates this process.
Yes. Yeah. So it'll set that all up for you. You can use AI to write most of it, and then you just polish the edges, and then you could start sharing it and using it to generate leads and qualify those leads.
And you said you got to your first 1,000 customers in less than a year.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. What were you just using the same app in the Frankenstein, what you call the Frankenstein, early model, but automating that?
No. So, my last business had about 1,000 clients, and they could all benefit from this. So this software works really well for coaches, consultants, authors, thought leaders, service providers. If you can service your clients through Zoom, it can work pretty well for you because it works well for digital entrepreneurs that can scale globally. And I had about 1,000 of those clients in my last business, and I recommended this program, this software, wholeheartedly because we were using it, right? And then also my business partner, the founder of the business, also had another business that he recommended, all of his clients to use this as well.
Yeah, and I went through your LinkedIn. You've got so much different versatile experience in investing, advising, and what led you to where you are today as far as, running a home office and or advising people to go to market?
Yeah, so I would say I'm an entrepreneur first, investor second. I am not a good investor. Investors are really good at thinking about what could go wrong. An entrepreneur, me, I'm a bit more about what could go right. So I get excited about things, I'm passionate about things. I love kicking the doors down and breaking into new regions. And I also really love copying and pasting what already works, into a different region and just seeing that rubber hit the road and that traction. So I have sort of fell into a little niche, because all my business interest is based around Singapore. And, I'm originally from Australia, which is fairly close to Singapore. And I meet a lot of people that are from the US or from the UK, and they want to get more into Asia Pacific. So ScoreApp is one of those companies that wanted more of exposure to Asia Pacific. So I'm helping them. I'm helping our company get our name out here, and I'm helping a few other companies do the same. Go to market. That go to market thing that I do for companies came about by just me looking at what assets I've got. If I'm based in Singapore and I know a lot of people that do business out of Singapore, but they want to get into Singapore, I can be that bridge, right? That go-to-market bridge for this region. So it was looking at where I have an advantage to help businesses and then just monetizing that.
And so predominantly, you're bringing a lot of business into Singapore. And what a lot of people don't know outside Singapore is the government actually subsidizes a certain amount of technology. I believe it was 70% and now it was 100% and now it's dropped down. What's it at right now?
I don't know. So we don't participate in that. Maybe because our head company is based in the UK. But yeah, definitely, you have to remember Singapore is a city country. It's a country within one city. So they've got no domestic resources. So they have to get really good at international trade, importing, exporting to do that. So there's tons of incentives about being here. It's like a little neutral ground to do business, a bit like Switzerland.
Yeah, I lived there for a year and a half. And it was great. I mean, as far as the business we were running, I grew it by, over 100% in a year and a half. An existing business that I took over. So it's a great place and very competitive. And, people, you know, they really they work hard. They work their ass off in Singapore because it's very competitive. Everybody wants an HDB flat, you know.
Yeah.
That's just the way Singapore is. I'm actually going there on Sunday. We're gonna take my boy to Universal Studios.
Amazing. I'm taking my daughter there in February. The Minions are in town.
Oh, okay, right on. I know. I'm sure they're gonna bring their opinions. And speaking of opinions, so I mean, now you're helping more and more people go to market. So, what do you find are the best strategies to go to market for new companies, for startups out there?
Yeah, so go to market for me is just solving the problem of distribution. You know, it's how can you get the cheapest, most effective distribution in that region to push your product out there. And there's, you know, there's 5 levers of distribution. There's pushing, there's pulling, which is like content and passively posting and waiting for people to come to you, setting up a shop and getting them to come to you. There's paid, which is advertising, which is what you don't want to do. You want to do that last. So that scoops up the scraps of your audience that, you know, you haven't already sold to yet. There's publishing. So, you know, that's PR, news articles. You know, maybe even if you're in the coaching business, you want to distribute a book or like you know, an ebook or something like that. And then there is partnerships, right? So partnerships is probably where the most leverage is. So, you know, one of my business partners, he's an old school investment banker, and he actually brought Asahi, the beer brand from Japan, to Canada way back when. And so he was the local, you know, beverage distribution partner. So he was the guy to know. So what I would say is that in any region, there's a guy or a girl to know. And if you want to go into a new region, you should be flying there, spending whatever money you spend to find that right person to help you go to market in that place. And then the rest of it can be quite easy.
Yeah, and I love that analogy. There's a lot of Canadians, you know, that are highly grateful for Asahi, as am I. It's a great beer. So, and you're using the same methodology for the other clients you're working with right now?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, you know, what a lot of it comes down to, it's just, you know, how is your network set up, right? So my network is really strong in pushing things like commodities, raw materials. You know, I own majority share of a farming company. So we're in the commodities trade, renewable energies. You know, we manufacture wind turbines. But where I'm not strong in is things like healthcare and, you know, medtech and, you know, insurances and financial products and things like that. So a lot of it is just knowing what your lane is and getting really good at your lane and then focusing on that.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. So, where do you think a lot of companies get it wrong with product market fit?
Yeah, I think, okay, so I don't know for certain, but I would bet money that when a company is looking to a new region, they haven't gotten the right local guide. You know, because you want to think global, but you want to act local, right? You want to fit into the nuances of that region. Like McDonald's is the perfect example. You know, McDonald's in Malaysia, you could buy rice, right?
Yeah, I'm quite
And
aware.
you get sweet, you know, chili sauce and chili. In Australia, there's Australian Angus beef, right? So you want to have that local integration for whatever business you're looking at. I think that's definitely one thing that companies don't get right. And I think as well, you also want to really, really know and understand what currency you're actually selling. So there's the commodity that you sell, which is like the products, you know, the watch, the discounted products, the EV, you know, the Tesla, whatever. And then there's the currency. So, you know, for a watch, the real currency that you sell is status, right? Status, prestige. Do you need a watch to know the time? No, you know, everyone looks at their phone, right? So it's just knowing what currency you sell and knowing how to pull those levers in that local market.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that's where a lot of people or companies, when they expand, they get it wrong. And like you said about McDonald's, dun, 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 these guys, they adjust all over the world. You know, one of my favorite movies was Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
And you know, like in France, there's a Royale with cheese. They don't have a Big Mac, right?
Yeah.
And here in the Philippines, I'm currently in the Philippines. There's McChicken, and it's just fried chicken, but they adapt because their biggest competitor is Jollibee, and you know, so they just get it right, and they're willing to adjust. Whereas a lot of other franchises, you can't change anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I love that. So why don't you tell me, like you've helped grow Score app, 6,500 paying customers, which is awesome. Can you tell me a story about another client you've worked with and what have you guys accomplished so far?
Yeah. Good question. So the wind turbine company. So I'm an investor as well in a wind turbine company, and the Philippines will actually be one of our biggest clients. So we're just talking to a potential client 2 days ago, and they are installing about 30 megawatts of solar panels. So just so you know, 1 megawatt can power 1 million regional homes in the Philippines, right? So a megawatt's a serious piece of power. And I said, wow, so you're looking at 30, so it's 30 million homes, regional homes, not, local inner city homes with the power. And how much land do you need to put that many solar panels down? And then the infrastructure, company said, well, we need 30 hectares, so like 70, just under 70 acres, so 700,000 feet. And then I said to him, but what happens when it's nighttime? He said, well, then we generate no power. I said, well, the Philippines is a windy place. Don't you want to think about having wind generation as well as your solar? Because the Philippines is an island and islands are always windy. And he said, yeah, we do. So, that's like a $20 million piece of business right there. So really all I did there was I just helped to find the opportunities and then I closed them. Whether that's with a distributor, whether it's with a direct client, that's my job, to find opportunities and close them.
Yeah, and in actuality, $20 million to power 30 million homes, which we're talking 30 million families.
Yeah.
It's actually a bargain and it's going to pay for itself.
Yeah, well, not just that. I don't know if you know, but in the Philippines has one of the most expensive electricity bills in the world. So the locals don't feel it because it's subsidized by the government. But in the US, you pay about 23 cents per kilowatt. In the Philippines, about 41 cents.
Yeah, no, and it's not subsidized. It's stolen. So no, it's not. It's Meralco, and Meralco bills like for my house, it's $500 a month, right?
Wow.
For my offices, it's crazy. Like I pay $100 a month for a small office. And my offices aren't small. I mean, that's in actuality, that's for no, that's 2,500 square feet, right? Or no, 5,000 square feet, 800 dollars US, because they have a monopoly and like they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah, so when your electricity bill halves in the next 5 years, you know that I helped you out there.
Well, I'll buy you a gift. Merry Christmas, by the way. But yeah, no, it is what it is. And a lot of countries, have monopolies like that. They haven't deregulated them like the United States and or other countries, modern countries around the world. Tell me a little bit about what else do you do when you take clients to market, not just with the negotiating ability to close a deal, but how do you advise clients to be unlike others? Right. So what's your advice to companies separating themselves from the competition?
What's my advice for companies separating themselves from the competition? That's a good question. Let me think. So I think that, well, first of all, I would advise any company, if they're walking into an overly competitive market or region without any differentiation, I'd tell them not to go there. I'd say come back when you have differentiation. Come back when you've got something special, because no one has. What's the point of spending money to try to outspend your competition, right? To just end up with the same result. So I really believe that you shouldn't do anything unless you have an advantage. Otherwise, you just end up pushing yourself down to being a commodity, like everyone else that might already be in the market. And you only want to be in a market that you can make a difference in, right? And that could mean that you have to go in under a different brand. So a really good example is like the car industry. So brands that do well in the car industry are very, very well defined, and they don't try to be too many things. Like, for example, Ferrari doesn't lose any sleep over the 10 times, 100 times more people that buy Toyotas every year, right? Because they sit in their lane. And, when a car company wants to get into a different category or into a different region, they will pick the best brand for that region. BMW wanted to get into the ultra luxury cars. They didn't make a 9 Series or 10 Series ultra luxury BMW because it was just out of alignment. What they did was they bought Rolls-Royce, and that's how they get into that. So they fit the right brand into the right market. So you got to know, what your cards are and how to play them. And Toyota is the same. When Toyota wanted to get into the luxury car market into the US, because they had not saturated, but they had soaked up all of the regular Toyota market, they created Lexus. Lexus stands for luxury exports to the US. And then they brought Lexus into the US.
Yeah, I'm quite aware. I saw the interview. I think someone was interviewing the CEO of Lamborghini. And they're like, why don't you guys run ads, TV ads? And they're like, because our clients, they don't care about a TV ad.
Yeah, they don't watch TV. They don't sit on the couch and watch TV.
Exactly. The people who buy Lamborghinis, they don't watch TV. They don't watch bullshit.
Yeah. And, a really good example is what we're doing right now. So podcasting. So podcasting is very, very thoughtful in how we want to build and promote ScoreApp, where we want to spend our time and energy promoting ScoreApp. So ScoreApp works well for coaches, consultants, authors, thought leaders, service providers. The person that listens to a podcast, the average person listens to about 1 hour a day. So about 7 hours a week, right? And when someone listens to a podcast, well, first of all, that's more than most what most people spend with their partners, right, in terms of quality time. And when someone listens to a podcast, they're not listening the same way they would watch a TV. They're not in numb my brain, watch bullshit mode, right? They're in learning and self-development mode. So the depth of attention span on a podcast is specifically tuned for someone who's looking to self-develop and better their life. And that's why specifically I want to be talking about things like ScoreApp on this medium.
Yeah, and I agree. And so let's go deeper with that, because if it helps individuals and coaches and trainers, then it can help businesses. And how do you cross-pollinate that technology and use it as an application, even to scale a business?
Yeah, so what it's really good at doing is it's good at converting passive audience, passive listeners, passive viewers into highly qualified leads. So you can use it as is essentially a lead magnet, so a conversion tool. So it's an action you give to people for them to put their hand up and say, hey, John, here's my contact information. I'm potentially interested to buy what you have to sell. Feel free to contact me with some more information. So the average lead magnet might be like an ebook, a discount code, an invitation to a free workshop, a free ticket, a free 15-minute value adding call. And that's typically converts at, say, 10%, 10 to 15%. So out of every 10 people, you'll get one person that actually will book that call with you. Now, quiz marketing, because it's a gamified, personalized, two-way experience, it's a little bit more compelling, and we're seeing conversion rates of about 20 to 40%. So you're potentially doubling or up to quadrupling your inbound interest. And then you have a much larger list to work with to build your business.
Yeah, and with the Score app, in saying that, what kind of different diversified businesses have you seen actually using it?
Yeah, good question. So we've seen a whole spectrum from personal trainers to accountants to financial planners to sales consultants to big four accounting firms to financial planners. I think I said to doctors, to dentists, to engineering consultants, to architects, to mortgage brokers, lenders, anyone that provides any type of service does really well with it. We've also even seen, when your audience is big enough, people who sell physical products, like e-commerce. So a lot of I spent a bit of time in London, and there's an e-commerce brand in there. I forgot what it's called. It's a supplement store, and they put me through a scorecard, like a quiz funnel, the first time I ever bought something to say, look, we sell all these things. We sell protein bars, to shirts, to shaker bottles, to greens powders, to fish oil tablets, to everything you see in every health store put to one. And they were aware any customer's only interested in a narrow slither of those, right? So then they asked me a bunch of questions, and I said, look, I'm just interested in the muscle gain stuff. And then they only sent me emails about muscle gain when they could have been sending me emails about, protein shakers and water bottles that I have no interest in. So personalizing customer experiences is really cheap and easy to do for any business now.
Yeah, and so how did you initially get into becoming a home office and an angel investor?
Yeah, so my last business did pretty well, and then saved a bit of money in there and invested some of that into some real estate before COVID, and then it had a big bump during COVID, then sold that, and then reinvesting that now, and also exited that business. So just building it up. I've always been aware that if you're not at least investing, say 30% of what comes in, then it's going to be pretty hard to stop working. It's going to be pretty hard to retire at some point, because as an entrepreneur, as you would know, there's no pension waiting for us, right? Like, we've got to, build our own destinies.
Yeah. And so when you're advising, there's, clients, there's so many different funding options out there, VCs, angel investors, there's bootstrapping. I bootstrapped the sales machine myself,
Yeah, great.
Hey folks, if you're enjoying this episode and you're picking up what I'm putting down and what the guests are actually putting out there, do me a favor, like and comment what you liked about the episode, or even comment what would you like to hear, what topics would you like to hear in the future, because believe me, it matters. I read absolutely every single one of them, and I want to bring you more and more value to help companies scale so that we can grow this podcast to make a bigger difference. Now let's get back to the show. What do you think is the best path? And is it, would you say it's really situational for long-term success?
In terms of what?
Advising your clients to raise money.
Yeah, good question. So I think the question you want to ask is, what's your goal? Like, are you trying to build a business where you want to build tons of enterprise value and you want to go all the way, like potentially to even an IPO? Then you're thinking about business differently. Or is this more of a cash machine to you, where you want to take out as much cash as possible because maybe your passion is to just, do a bit of real estate investing and flipping, renovating, flipping houses with, your husband or wife, right? And adding bedrooms and having that bit of fun. So it really comes down to, what type of liquidity events do you want to create for yourself? Do you want yearly ones that's going to be medium size? Do you want quarterly ones that's going to be small, like quarterly bonuses? Or are you happy to take a 5 to 10 year liquidity event that could be X? So it really comes down to what type of game you want to play, and there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, well, let's take for example your business right now as an example, because SaaS companies and app companies, they have exponential opportunity for
Yeah.
10x and or multipliers to sell your company, right? So if you're doing, as an example, 6,500 or 6.5 million in revenue, unlike traditional businesses, and you can talk about EBITDA, or you can talk about how VCs look at different industries and different businesses differently, because it can be the percentage of growth and exponential growth, what they're looking at, what they're investing in, and your EBITDA is shit because you put all the money back in, and so it's no longer relevant, right? So can you speak to that? Like what do you see the multiples being? And I know it's industry based, because but the multiples for SaaS companies, a small multiple can be 10.
Yeah. So it's not really that much about the industry of the company. It's more about the predictability of the income. So the reason why SaaS companies have a 10, 20 times multiple is because they've carved out a predictable income that is a machine that will run whether it's this team, the founding team, or a C grade team, right? So they've created a really reliable machine. So it's about repeatable and predictable and reliable income. So and if that is on subscription and that happens every year, and there's very little churn, so very little people drop off, and that income's pretty steady, then there's going to be a high value of that income, high multiple. Yeah.
And is that what you're doing with Score App?
Yeah, so we've reverse engineered the highest multiple that we knew we could execute, right? So there's about three sides to the triangle, right? So like the golden triangle of exiting for a big multiple. It's proprietary technology. So you want to carve out technology that's either is already in the market but you're doing it better, or you've invented something new. Both are very hard. That's why there's a hard multiple. Then there's repeatable income. So is it structured so the income is super repeatable? And then the last one is the drop off of the income. So is the income designed? Is a concentration risk? Like, is all this coming from one client? So you're basically just like an external employee of one big company, or do you have 7,000 clients around the world that you're totally diversified?
Yeah, I get it. So I love your mention of creating a machine, because I created the sales machine, which is a performance management system. And you talk about proprietary. It has a patent on creating accountability with people through achievement and gamification.
Yeah, wow, nice.
So you talk about gamification in the new generation. They like the game, and we want to be in that game, and we want to exit the game at about 100x. So what are your plans for Score App and moving forward? Is because it's personal. It really does come back down to what are your personal goals, and you want something better for this quarter, this year. No, I want $100 million in 5 years is what I want.
Is that what you want?
That's right. That's
what I want.
Yeah. So we can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
2030. That's $100 million a year.
That's right. So I guess we want the same things. So what do you need to get to? Because if you're doing 6.5 million recurring revenue and you have minimal churn and great customer retention, aren't you worth 10x now?
Technically, yeah, it depends where you sell. But if we're selling to a US publicly listed company, then yeah, just about. It would be the top end. Maybe we're looking at an average of 8. But yeah, so the goal is we're actually at 7,000 users right now. So the goal is to double the current user base to 12,000, and then we're noticeable. We're noticeable for some of the big publicly listed companies to potentially pick us up.
Right on. And so tell me about how you've reverse engineered going into the market with the multiple you want to have, and how you determined that 12,000 is going to put you on the map?
Yeah, so 12,000 equals to about 10. No, 12,000 is about call it about $12 million in ARR, right? So
Yeah,
$1 million a month. $1 million a month times 12 million dollars a year. You know, the multiple is typically on revenue. So,
correct.
right, to a publicly listed company. Then, 12 times 8 also, between 8 to 10 is $100 million.
And it's 8 to 10 years, correct?
Yeah.
Is what they're paying you for. And they get your brand, they get everything. And
Yeah. Well, they might pay less. You know, let's say the public market might value it at 10 times revenue. If they buy us for 8 or 9 times revenue, then they've made an arbitrage. So they're not really buying the future income at that point. They're buying the arbitrage on their market cap value. Because when we get absorbed into a bigger company, the market cap should increase by 10, and they've bought us for 9.
correct.
Yeah.
And they just, and then
Print.
you have to walk away and accept the fact that you're just, going to have maybe to wait for that Ferrari on special order, but you'll still get that Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but everybody's got different goals, right? Some people want to own an island. Some
Yeah.
people, want a Ferrari. Anyway, yeah, that's the game I'm playing. That's the
Cool.
game, and not for the Ferrari. I go on trips all the time and drive them, and leave them. So I don't have to maintain them.
Yeah. Yeah,
But-
it's a bit like a boat, right? They say there's 2 key dates in your life when you have a boat. 2 best days of your life: the day when you buy it and the day when you sell it.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. But yeah, so it's too funny because I figured out 10 years ago, do I really want to own everything, or I just want those experiences? Because as long as
Yeah.
I'm having those experiences and giving up the ownership, I also don't have to maintain it. And that's ultimate freedom to me. To be ultimately anonymously wealthy is total freedom. And I don't need to own everything. I just want to have access.
Yeah.
And then I want to leave. An example, which is crazy, and I don't know if you can resonate with this, but I rode a Harley to Sturgis with my brothers. I don't know, 15 years ago, right? We from California, we went to Sturgis, rode these Harleys. My brothers are big Harley dudes, and I'm not, but I'm like, okay, I can do this. So we did. But we also rented a big RV, right? And we traveled across the country in this RV. And I'm like, this is horrible. No, they're like, what do you mean it's horrible? This is cool. And I'm like, no, it's not. Everywhere we stop, we got to hook this thing up. The towels are still drying the next day. The shower pressure sucks. Like,
Yeah.
nah, never again. And I'm the one fitting the bill. I'm like, we could have stayed at hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, make a mess and leave.
Make a mess and leave.
I just want to experience it, man. I don't need to own this damn RV, right? And now they got RVs. You think I own an RV?
No, you don't sound like it. You don't sound like the RV type of guy.
Yeah. And I just want to experience things, because ultimate freedom is I can just pick up and leave. Don't have to have a bunch of physical shit.
Yeah, I couldn't be with you more. I haven't owned a car. Well, I haven't even had a car on lease or a car loan in more than 10 years. Just always Uber, Grab, in and out, Uber Black when I feel like it, Uber Premium or whatever, Exec when I feel like it, and just jump in, out. Don't have to worry about car parking, insurance, pouring petrol, any of that stuff.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I'm the same. More and more, the more I live, I'm just like, the less I own, the better. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because it's just, it's just not convenient.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we went down a rabbit hole, Maxwell, but it's good to understand that, we're both, on track and doing similar things. You with Score App, me with the sales machine. So what kind of advice would you offer to companies that are in the startup mode and to scale and want to scale?
Yeah, I think that you want to understand a few things, right? The first, you want to tick a few boxes. The one big box that I really have learned to look for, I never used to look for, but you have to make a few mistakes to see this, is you want something with defensibility. So you want something where if you're going to put this much effort, time, because what you don't get back is time, and you really feel that when you waste your time. You waste 5 years or something that was meant to have this big champagne popping moment, and then that never happens. You're like, wow, I could have done anything else in the last 5 years, and I'll be further ahead than what I am right now. So you wanna pick either an industry that's just so big and it's growing so extraordinarily that you could trip over and accidentally make $100 million, or you want to be picking something very strategic in terms of it's got a lot of defensibility. So the industry that I picked that follows a mega trend is renewable energy, right? Because if I can half your electricity bill, you use electricity every day. So that's like my defensibility and, mega moats that I want to hopefully just trip over and just fall into $100 million contracts. And then the other thing I've really learned to look for is, I will walk away from a mega trend or a defensible project if I'm not with the right team, and I've really learned that I only want to work with A players. Because if I work with A players, even if I'm having a day where I feel like being a B or a C player, the A players will lift me up. Otherwise, I'll be kicked out, right? So, and what I've really learned is that if you have, for example, 3 A players and a C player, eventually over time, that team will deteriorate and perform like a C team because 2 of the A players will get frustrated, 1 will leave, and they'll just stop caring, right? So you really need to have, total alignment in aptitude and attitude.
Yeah, I agree that, everything starts with attitude,
Yeah.
And second is aptitude. Like I don't have low-level individuals, even with their skill set. As long as they have the right mindset, I can teach them the skill set.
Exactly.
But you're not going to, if you're putting them in a situation where they got to go into a boardroom, and you talked about needs analysis earlier, and having the ability to just listen, absorb, and make intelligent decisions and give intelligent advice. So you've given some priceless advice. So I want to thank you for being on the show, Maxwell. It's been remarkable, and definitely we can people should be able to connect the dots, even with the advice you've given them to help them. In a crowded marketplace, though, how do your go-to-market strategies that you use make the brand stand out if it is a crowded marketplace? Because earlier you said, if it's too crowded and you cannot differentiate yourself, don't go. You're going to waste a lot of money. So what do you do to differentiate, or advice do you give people to differentiate?
Yeah.
I know you gave the McDonald's analogy earlier, but what are some other things you do? And I know you mentioned the 5 Ps. Do you just stick with that framework and then you just drill down on it?
Yeah. So to be honest, I don't know how to build. I wouldn't call myself a brand builder.
Mm.
I'm an executor, right? So I'm not someone that you want to call to pay me $100,000 of consulting for me to put together this brand package that's going to shoot the lights out and get people emotionally excited about your product. You call me and you pay me $100,000 when you have a product that's already working and you want to bring it to a different region, and you want to speak to the 5 strategic partners that'll completely change the game for you. That's when you talk to me. You don't talk to me to build a brand that's going to win a market. You talk to me to find the people who have already won the market, and you piggyback off them.
Amen. Amen. Because I believe in the power of merger, acquisition, and partnerships, especially as a methodology to scale technology, looking for channel partners. What I never knew is, Google is not really selling globally. As an example, they have strategic partners. Salesforce, they don't have home offices like in Manila. They don't. They have strategic partners. HubSpot, strategic partners. Lots of these different technologies have strategic partners that others implement for them. They just cut them in on the revenue, and they build great strategic partnerships. So you're that guy, especially for entering into new regions. So what do you do to build strategic partnerships that create win-win, long-term relationships?
Yeah, so most people think that the best competitive advantage, the best strategic partnerships is about being able to do more sales, bigger, faster, and better. More is more, right? But I couldn't disagree with that more. I really believe the best competitive advantage and the best strategic partner you could have that helps you go into a market with almost zero risk, whether that's zero reputational risk, brand risk, or whatever. Like if the best strategic partnership helps you to make $1 risk free rather than $10 with 50% risk. Like you want to make $1 risk free any day of the week, because if you're a big company, you can bet big on making a lot of dollars risk free at low leverage. Then that's how you win. That's how Warren Buffett does it. That's how Tim Cook does it when he thinks about where to allocate money. They think about what's the risk-free amount and how can I stretch that to as big as possible, and then just cash that, and then do that every day of the week,
rather than being risk adverse.
Yeah,
they're risk adverse to being risk free, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, great. So, ladies and gentlemen, go get the scorecard marketing. We're going to put in the show notes down there where you can actually get the book, and you should all go look up how Score App can work for you. And Maxwell, if people wanted to work with you, how would they reach out to you and connect to you?
Yeah, good question. So I am addicted to LinkedIn. So you'll get me on there. LinkedIn, Maxwell Nee, I'm the only one on there. If you want a copy of our book, Scorecard Marketing, to learn how this works, how it can work for you, we can give out a PDF or get a physical copy out to you if we can, depending on where you're at. And all you need to do is go to ScoreApp, ScoreApp.com/book.
Excellent. Any final advice for people out there that are looking for a home office and or investors, and how should they vest them?
How to find investors?
Yeah, and or vesting a home office, right? Or someone that wants to invest in their company.
Yeah, this comes back to the risk conversation, right? So how if people aren't investing in your company, I would be looking towards, okay, well, how could I make this a bit more of a no-brainer from a risk perspective? I don't mean add extra zeros on the potential. That's totally blue sky. I mean, how could you tie the deployment of someone else's money into your business to a milestone that gives rock solid comfort that this business is in a good place? So how could you reduce the risk for the investor? And then that shows a lot of maturity, as a founder, as someone that's raising money, someone that's thinking about how to de-risk the investor. Because if you de-risk the investor, you've de-risked your business, right? But you're just looking at it through the lens of an investor.
All right. Thanks for being on the show, Maxwell Nee. That's a wrap, folks. Thanks for joining me today. And if you got value from this episode, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and refer a friend. And if you want even more value, go to thesalesmachine.com Click on resources, and there's tons of resources there to increase profits and drive performance in your business. Right on, come on.